Okay, so today I'm going to review what is one of my favorite modern books sagas, which is The Hunger Games. My name is Jesus Seren, and this is my homework for literary analysis. First of all, The Hunger Games was written by Suzanne Collins. She, besides The Hunger Games, has written the Gregor saga, which is a book kind of like Alice in Wonderland, but like with a more serious plot. And instead of Alice, we have this kid Gregor who falls into a hole, and he's like the hero who's been told in prophecies that would save the world of the animals who live in the hole. Well, it was just a tidbit of information about something else what Suzanne Collins wrote about. Um, so basically, the Hunger Games is about a society or this country called Panem, which is divided into 12 districts, and the capital city, ironically called Capital, which rules over the 12 other districts in some sort of dictatorship. President Snow is the last president running Panem, and the book is about how a nation known as North America before became Panem, and how they survived an uprising by the other districts. So it's basically a war-ravaged region in which kids from ages 12 to 18 are raped or taken from their homes to participate into a deadly game, which is televised and broadcasted to all of the rest of the people in the districts. So as a remembrance that the capital will always be victorious against the poor people, or against the ones that uprised 75 years ago. So when we start reading the book, which is the first one, is the one I'm going to talk about. By the way, this is the Scholastic limited edition, because I love collecting like limited edition books of my favorite ones. So, The Hunger Games. Basically, that's the basic plot, but as we start, those are my cats. As we start reading, the story uncovers, and it tells about this girl, Katniss Everdeen, who's been living in District 12, the poorest district from all of them, and she's kind of like fed up of the same way of living. Her father died into a mine explosion, and she's basically the one who has supported her family since she was 12. So there is a reason why it's called the Hunger Games, which is not mentioned in the movie. If you have watched the movie, you will see that they are selected for the game, and then she goes to the game and fights to death. But it is called the Hunger Games because whenever she asked for extra food, because there's food shortage, so every person in District 12 gets like a fixed amount of what they can eat based on a monthly basis. But she, because her family was starving to death because the lack of their father and the economical support he provided, she had to ask for more food. In exchange of that, her name would appear more times in the yearly selection. So that's why it's called the Hunger Games. But because the more times you asked for food, the more times you had chance to to get selected to participate into the Hunger Games. So it's about Katniss Everdeen, who, like, she's fed up. She had it. Like, she cannot stand anymore living on the district, and how she gets involved into the Hunger Game and how she survives. The first book is mostly about her trying to survive, trying not to die, and her transformation between a down-to-earth girl to the fearless warrior we see on Catching Fire, which is the second part. Is this one? And how she becomes, even if she doesn't want to, into the icon of revolution, into Mockingjay. So, along with Peeta Mellark, which is the other character, it tells the survival of Katniss Everdeen and how she manages to tear apart the capital, which is like a powerful city full of rich people. It's like Dubai, maybe, yeah. Instead of just rich people living there, this rich people is oppressing the other 12 districts. Well, so that's the basic plot, and what I find interesting in this books is the fact of her transformation. Like, at the beginning, she doesn't want to get involved at all. She gets involved because I'm going to talk about that later, because I'm going to read an excerpt of the book. Because of some special reason. So basically, she's on force over there. So that's what I find interesting, her transformation. How at the beginning she doesn't want to get involved, then she gets involved, and until she realizes how important is her role, whether she liked it or not, into freeing not only her people and her district and her family, but the rest of the nation. Even if she doesn't want to become the icon of the revolution, at the end she takes the lead and she helps other people who are as angry and fed up as her to uprise one more time against the capital and defeat it once for all. Other characters worth mentioning is Katniss's little sister, which is Primrose Everdeen, and her mom, which are like two characters that define her personality so well. Her relationship with her mother is very conflicted because when her father died, her mother became depressive and distant and almost let her and Primrose, her little sister, Katniss's little sister, to die. So she's resented, and she always resents it because she became distant. She almost causes them to die. But we see that the only person who gets the best out of Katniss is her little sister, and how she, in some way, is the breaking point for her to be brave and to want to continue with the process of the revolution that she started accidentally on the Hunger Games. And actually, if it wasn't for Primrose Everdeen, there won't be any story to tell, which this is what I want to share with you right now. So if you allow me a minute, this is the first book, and we're going to move right away to the first chapter because I don't want to spoil anything, just in case you haven't read the book or in case you haven't watched the movie as well. So, but I think it's a very popular movie. So here in the first book, basically Katniss is talking to her friend of childhood, this guy called Gale, and how they are like tired of the same capital stuff, and how is the day of the reaping, in which a capital agent, in this case Effie Trinket, goes to every district and selects the kids who are going to die in the Hunger Games. So Katniss's name was written many times, okay, and Gale's name as well, because they had to survive. But Primrose Everdeen was celebrating her 12th birthday, and basically her name was only once on the pool of candidates. But what happens is what triggers the rest of the story, and that's why this is one of my favorite parts of this book. So let's see. Through the crowd, I spot Gale looking back at me with a ghost of a smile. As reapings go, this one at least has a slight entertainment factor. But suddenly, I'm thinking of Gale and his 42 names in that big glass bowl, and how the odds are not in his favor, not compared to a lot of the boys. And maybe he's thinking the same thing about me, because his face darkens, and he turns away. But there are still thousands of lips I wish I could whisper to him. It's time for the drawing. Effie Trinket says, as she always does, ladies first, and crosses to the glass bowl with the girls' names. She reaches in, digs her hand deep into the bowl, and pulls out a slip of paper. The crowd draws in a collective breath, and then you can hear a pin drop. And I'm feeling nauseous and so desperate, hoping that it's not me. That is not me. Effie Trinket comes back to the podium, smooths the slip of paper, and reads out the name in a clear voice. And it's not me. It's Primrose Everdeen. So basically, Katniss's name was more than 40 times, Gale's name was more than 40 times, and Primrose's name was only one time. So after this, Katniss volunteers to replace her sister, because she doesn't want a 12-year-old girl, which happens to be her little sister, to die. So there she goes, she volunteers, and she goes to the Hunger Games. She emerges victorious at the end of the book, but that's only the beginning of what happens, or seems to be, a revolution undergoing. Well, to end my review of the book, there are some interesting facts about this book. Suzanne Collins based her story on two main things: violence, as it is viewed nowadays, like normal, considering the fact that she comes from like the United States, which is ironically a very violent country, and she reflects on this when she says, I based my story on how people are used to see violent scenes on TV, and they seem desensitized on that. They are not sensible anymore, and on those kind of topics, people don't feel anything. People just see it as something normal, and how it's televised over there. And the fact that her father participated in different conflicts, he was a veteran, and how she felt the anguish of being without her father, the anguish of being without anyone who could protect her. And well, another interesting fact is that most of the characters' names are based off food or some sort of plant. For example, Katniss is this beautiful flower, Primrose as well. There is a girl named Rue as well, which is also very important for the plot of the first book and the second book as well. So that's basically it. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Do I recommend it? Yes, I do. For two main reasons. Also, nowadays it's very common to see this young adult dystopian future stuff. Katniss is a female role, which is basically who narrates the story, and which is basically you can feel yourself in her shoes, and you get immersed in the story like very deeply, and how the book deals. The other reason is how the book deals with the topic of violence and how normalized it is for us nowadays. Do I prefer the book over the movie? Yes. The book provides so many more details and explains so many more reasons on why different things happen. And that's why I recommend it, like over the movies. You should read these books. If you liked the movies, that's great, but the books will give you a different take on the movie. Like you will end up liking the movies even more after reading the books. I'm very sure of that. So this is basically my homework, my analysis on the first book of the Hunger Games. We still gotta talk about Catching Fire and the Mockingjay, which are part 2 and part 1. And I would like to talk about it, but I think this video has been quite long. And yeah, it would take me a lot more to talk more in depth about the Hunger Games itself and the rest of the book as well. And I actually recommend you guys to read the other works by Suzanne Collins. She's a very talented writer. I consider her one of my favorite modern writers, and yeah, I totally suggest you to read the Gregor saga as well. If you have read these already, you should move on and read the Gregor saga if you haven't. Although it's a book for pre-teens, it is very interesting, and it has a lot of things you can get from the book, and how it deals with topics like death and fraternal love and conflict as well. So I hope you have enjoyed it, and sorry for not showing my face, but I think what was important about was discussing about this book. So have a nice week.